And hello again. Yes, it is I, the conspicuous Moo. For a second consecutive day I must be feeling unwell. So we do have yet another beta patch update, but you know, I really should stop keying myself up for these moments because I have been disappointed by our beta patch updates for at least the last 3 iterations that I can recall. And it looks like that at the moment Brewmasters aren't really much of a focus for them. They're far more focused on taking their Covenant system and grinding it into the dust. So we'll take a look at that, and we'll take a look at the new Covenant sets, which look rather interesting. Yeah, well, let's get cracking. So, in terms of noteworthy beta patch changes, there weren't really a lot for us. I mean, there were an awful lot of tooltip alterations, particularly for Phalanx Stomp. There were like 12 of them for some reason. And the aforementioned keg smash change, which was on the PTR yesterday, has now been transferred over to the beta. For those of you who didn't watch the video from yesterday, the TLDR on this is that keg smash has had its damage increased, and the damage that it will do to additional targets has also been increased. So this is a damage and a threat bonus, and very nice indeed. The penalty we had to pay was our cooldown on our brews was reduced from 4 seconds to 3 seconds every time we use Keg Smash, which is a bit of a pain, but it's not really that much of an issue. The only other change of note was that they turned back into what is a semblance of normality. Last week they had missed a decimal point, and we were able to reduce the target's movement speed by 380%, which is some real Doctor Whovian time-travelling tricks. But they've fixed that now, so isn't that nice? Right, and now onto the meat and potatoes, as they say somewhere. So we got a post from Kyvax, who says the tuning of Covenant abilities is underway, and he's not kidding. So today's updated build of the Shadowlands beta testers will see a snapshot of the process of tuning several Shadowlands systems, which is underway. We're in the midst of recalibrating, the throughput of several Covenant abilities, and while in some cases the magnitude of the change may feel large, really? I'm astonished! It is necessary to bring outlier abilities in line with our targets, so that players can make more accurate comparisons between abilities. Well, if all the abilities are terrible, it should be fairly easy to compare between them. So let's move on. To date, they've gone for the conduits. They've gone for soulbind conduits across all classes. We got a couple of hits. There are some other classes who got considerably more warriors, warlocks. The ones that immediately spring to mind, they got a good kicking. Yeah, guardian druids as well, to a lesser extent. So I want to try and explain what the current situation is with soulbinds and conduits, and how this system is not looking particularly good, and the issues that I have with it. So I'm going to switch over to my conduit vision. Just one sec. So we'll start with Nia, because Nia's the one that you start with the Night Fae campaign. You know, as before, one of the problems that we've had with these soulbind calculators is that, you know, you have very decent soulbind abilities and then attached to conduits which you don't really want. Because we have so few conduits which are actually any good. You know, we've got 2 decent and 1 potency. We've got 1 decent, 1 endurance, and we've got a couple of finesse, which, you know, you would take in an emergency, but, you know, once you get into the point where you're considering taking finesse conduits, you know that you're in a bit of trouble, really. So, Nia, run without tiring. You know, that's not... While in Soulshape, you regenerate 5% of your maximum health every 3 seconds. Okay, so what? Probably take Scalding Brew. For the finesse, I'm currently going with Dizzying Tumble, as long as it works properly. Now, in this point, you really wouldn't take the herbs. I mean, it increases the haste, which is no good for us anyway. So you've got a choice between the poison, which will a little more damage, and the burrs, which will slow them down. If you wanted Harm Denial, then you have no choice but to take the burrs. So you'd go Harm Denial, and then Wave the Fae. And you just not take Walk with the Ox. So that's fine, and then you've got a choice between taking leather, meat and fish, or your movement speed is increased by 20% for 2 minutes after defeating an enemy. So it's like, yeah, I mean, they're all okay. They're never any good, though, really. I mean, it doesn't really matter what you take. You go to Grove Invigoration, And you know, healing or dealing damage has a chance to grant you a stack of redirected anima for up to 10. Activating your Night Fae class ability grants you 1% maximum health and 35 mastery per stack for 30 seconds. Sounds pretty good. Our Night Fae ability, of course, is Feline Stomp, so that's on a 30-second cooldown, and this thing procs approximately twice a minute. So you will eventually get to 10 stacks and have your additional 10% health, and you know, your mastery will shoot up. My mastery, I think, on the PTR is 142, so you know, 35 is decent, 350 is excellent, but it will take you a very long time to actually get there, which is a major problem. I mean, I guess if you're fighting a raid boss for 10 minutes, then you know, maybe you get something out of it, but otherwise that's a pretty underwhelming one. Dreamweaver got another kicking. I mean, Field of Blossoms isn't tremendously good because, you know, increasing a haste by 10% is okay, but yeah, you wouldn't go to town on it. I mean, you'd obviously choose Scalding Brew there because damage, and you'd choose Harm Denial at the moment because it's the only decent endurance conduit that we have. We get to this bit here. Now, Empowered Chrysalis is actually quite good because 10% of the overhealing, so that's received as well. So if a healer overheals you, then you will get a shield on yourself for up to 10% of the caster's health, which is the healer. But you know, it's still quite good. Soothing Voice, it's really a PvP ability, you wouldn't really take it, but it is tied to the potency. So once again, you know, you've got this thing where I've got a soulbind ability I don't want. But if I want another potency, then I have to take that. It's just, that's just not good design at all. Or, I mean, Social Butterfly. Now this was one of the better abilities that Night Fae actually had. You know, it really says something about the Covenant abilities in general, that, you know, the soulbind abilities, that, you know, this increased your versatility by 5% for 5 seconds, and everyone went, that's pretty good compared to everything else in these trees. But they've gone and nerfed it, so it's now 3% for 5 seconds, and when it expires after the 5 seconds, 2 nearby allies will gain 33% of this effect, or 1% versatility. Wow, that's exciting too. And you know, you'd have to take a double endurance in order to get that, but now it's been nerfed to that point, why would you bother? You know, it wasn't that great to start with, and they've made it even worse. And this is a problem across the board in all of these soulbinds, or for Night Fae anyway, and you know, a lot of the other ones are similarly afflicted with this problem. So, you know, you could take the Chrysalis, fine, and then you take Tumbling Technique. So, you know, you're actually taking a Finesse now because that is the better option. Pick up your Way of the Fae, so you're not taking a third potency, so you're missing out on Walk with the Ox, because you don't want to take an obvious PvP soulbind. It's just, okay, deep breaths. Then, Fairy Dust, Falling Down, or this one is lovely. You know, after spending 60 seconds in a rested area, you gain 20% increased movement speed for 30 minutes. Yeah, you probably take that, but then you get to Pod Tender, and Pod Tender is a cheat death. So, you know, that sounds very, very useful, unless you're a tank. I mean, if you're a mage and you're standing in some boiling tomato soup in the background, and you should have been standing in the chicken noodle, or the minestrone, obviously, and you die, then, you know, you'll go into your wild seed and you'll regenerate, and you probably won't get hit enough for the pod to die, and you'll come back to life, and that's fabulous. And if you're a healer, similarly, you know, as long as the tank is, you know, maintaining aggro, then you shouldn't have a problem here. But if you're a tank and you get this, then presumably you're still going to have threat. So you're going to go into your pod, and then you're going to die anyway, and then that's completely useless. And by the time, you know, if you don't have a battle res, it's a wipe anyway, particularly on high keys. What would be the point of that? Pod Tender is such a problem that, you know, when I brought it up before, people have recommended, well, you just don't take it. So, you know, we're now in a situation where we've got a soulbind, which has got some decent stuff in it, but the final ability is so bad that people are recommending you just don't finish the tree. I mean, that's just terrible. Corain is probably where I'm going to end up. You know, once again, it's got a really cool ability here. You know, your soul shape teleport becomes a charge, and you stun your target for 5 seconds and ending your soul shape. That's getting nerfed because that's way too much fun. And Blizzard don't do fun right now. Or you can increase the movement speed of allies within 10 yards, well, 10 yards, 40 yards by 10%, so it's windwalking, but with, like, in moose form. You take it anyway because you need the potency. Once again, you know, that charge looks great fun. You really need the finesse? No, you don't. Harm denial as normal. Now, here you've got a choice. You could face your foes. When in front of the target, your spells and abilities decrease the damage they inflict on you by 2% for 2 seconds. It's not much, but, you know, it's tankier. Or First Strike, damaging an enemy before they damage you, increases the chance to critical strike by 20% for 10 seconds. Once again, this is probably another one that's going to get nerf battered because it's quite attractive, really. I don't really want to take a second endurance at the moment because all of the conduits are just pretty ordinary, to say the least. So I'd probably go with Face Your Foes, which means I'd get 3 potencies. I'd take Way of the Fae there, and then I would actually go with Walk with the Ox, which is the only time I'm actually taking it. Get in formation, the amount of movement speed is increased by 5%, and allies behind you within 40 yards also gain that benefit. It's kind of nice to run around, but your weapon takes no durability damage, like ever. Taking that. And Wild Hunt Tactics. Now, this looks pretty good, actually, so I kind of fear for it, because it's the best option of the 3 soulbinds. And, you know, you get increased movement speed, and we do love our movement speed as monks, but like all of these other abilities, and this is just another problem with this entire soulbind system, you don't even access the 3rd soulbind until you've completed the entire campaign. So that's about renown level 15, I think. So you're going to be some distance into the expansion already before you can even open this guy up. And after that, you're not going to get these final abilities. No matter which soulbind calculator you take, you're not going to get the final ability until renown level 39. Renown caps at 40, so basically you won't see any of these abilities until February at the very, very earliest. So, you know, once again, I have a lot of problems with this system, and, you know, they're making it very easy to choose which tree you're going to take, because you just have to take the one that actually has one redeeming feature in it. And unfortunately, you know, the soulbind abilities and the conduits have degenerated now to the point where this is not going to be a very rewarding experience. You know, you get to renown level 35, you're probably, yeah, I'm pretty pleased, but, you know, if you get to, I don't know, you have to complete the Night Fae campaign to start with to get there, and then once you finally get here, you know, you pick Harm Denial or a 2% decrease for 2 seconds. It's all very underwhelming. And, you know, this system is going live, and at the moment it is getting nerfed into the floor. So, after all of that depravity and depressingness, let's move on to something that's a little bit more upbeat. They have also released some Covenant set bonuses and armor. So, these are 8-piece sets, and each one of them has their own particular bonuses according to which Covenant you choose. I've also taken the liberty of snipping out the different actual completed sets for each Covenant too. So, you know, if you're going for a particular aesthetic, then yeah, I mean, our first entry here is Kyrian. Now, the 3-piece on all of these is exactly the same. It's called Soul Replenishment. It increases your out-of-combat regeneration in outdoor Shadowlands zones, and it is increased when you're in that Covenant's realm. So for Kyrian, it would be Bastion. The 5-piece Serenity Blending File of Serenity grants 70 agility for 30 seconds, removing a disease, poison, curse, or bleed, increments the amount granted by 50%, so okay. And then Aspirant's Touch for the 8-piece. Your spells and abilities have a chance to cause your target to erupt in a blinding light, dealing 480 arcane damage or healing an ally for 590 health. And then below them we have the Necrolord. So yes, as you can see, reaction has been rather mixed on the actual set look itself. It kind of looks like something that fell out of the back of one of those Antorus hounds. So, as normal, you get soul replenishment at 3 pieces, and at 5 pieces you get flesh infusion. While fleshcraft is active, your agility will be increased by 100. And then Victor's Advantage. Killing an enemy reduces fleshcraft's cooldown by 3 seconds, and your critical strike rating is increased by 35. Stacking 5 times. We like crit, so that's not bad. Fleshcraft, on the other hand, is bad. It's never been a particularly favoured ability for us. Because of its channeling nature. You can have the option to move while channeling, but it's only available on one of the soulbinds. And generally, when you're channeling, you can't defend yourself. You've got no dodge or parry or anything like that. So that's another disadvantage to it. So if you're feeling inclined to go Night Fae, soul replenishment is the same for the 3-piece, except the regeneration amount will be increased in Ardenweald. Face Swiftness is the 5-piece. Soulshape's duration is increased by 4 seconds, and Flicker grants a short burst of speed while in outdoor Shadowlands zone, so it'll help you zip around a bit more in Moose form. And Guardian of the Fae, your spells and abilities have a low chance to summon a Fae Guardian to protect you for 30 seconds, increasing your agility by 60 while alive, and periodically healing 5 nearby allies for 450 health. Never a fan of procky things. I mean, the additional agility would be nice. Will I have 5 nearby allies? Probably not, if I'm just running around questing, but anyway, the thought was there. And finally, the Venthyr, and you got to say, that Venthyr that's just pure rogue. Pure rogue in a jam jar, that is. So 3-piece, soul replenishment, the same. 5 pieces Penance Brand, so your spells and abilities have a chance to inflict Penance Brand on your target, dealing 660 shadow damage over 6 seconds, and healing you for the same amount. I don't mind that, that's pretty nifty. And the 8 pieces, One with Shadows. While Door of Shadows is off cooldown, your agility is increased by 80, and its range is increased by 5 while in outdoor Shadowlands zone. So, yeah, some pretty decent bonuses there. Some additional notes, so you bear in mind these are very, very similar to the Legion class hall sets that we had in Legion, oddly enough, and they appear to be eye level 155 at the moment, which isn't particularly high. It'll be fine for you just questing or doing world quests and running through the world, and I think that's really what they're designed for. So yeah, I think they'll probably be good for questing out in the world, but not really an awful lot else. Once you start going into dungeons, you're going to find gear that's better than this. The way that you acquire it is just through your Covenant storyline. So, as long as you keep doing your renown, topping up that bar, you will get all of these pieces eventually. And it won't take very long either, probably a couple of months. There are no obvious eye level upgrade options at this point, but who knows in the future, particularly with, if scaling does come in with higher item levels, and you still want to use this set, then, being 155 in a world that's 300 would be rather painful. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye out for that. You never know. And, of course, if you are curious as to what, I don't know, a gnome monk looks like in the Night Fae set, here's a quick twizzle for you. I think she looks lovely. Well, okay, I think that's it for now. Like I say, we'll just have to wait until next week to see if we get any more outstanding updates. Maybe the pace of these changes will start picking up as we're getting closer to launch. Who knows? We are in Blizzard's hands, as always. So, I am the Conspicuous Moo, and a very, very, very good evening to you. And if you're curious, and of course if you